Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Coming to you from the treadmill on the Sunday, it's the 11th today. Rest day. So on my rest days at the moment, just doing cardio. I think I spoke about this before, but coming in on my rest days has definitely improved my just general productivity and general mental health in the morning, as I was staying at home before this on a rest day, just doing steps outside and then doing my cardio on training days. But decided to switch that around, make sure I'm coming to the gym every single morning now, whether it's a training day or rest day. I'm getting my cardio done on rest days and training day, because it's now increased to 3 sessions of cardio for 20 minutes. So I've just done my 20 minutes here. Now just doing my usual half an hour steps that I do on the treadmill first thing. I'm going to get the rest of my steps in throughout the day. But I'm holding the camera like this just because I thought I'd film the video now. So apologies if it's not very long, because obviously I can't hold my shoulder for this long. Basically doing a front lateral raise, a front raise for about 10 minutes. So I'll try not to waffle on, try and get straight to the point, but we talk about a little bit about intra workouts today, and are they necessary or not? A lot of people have their own opinions on this. See, my shoulder's already hurting. I have quite a mixed opinion. I've done both. I've used an intra workout and I haven't used one. It's probably in my earlier years of training where I didn't really utilize an intra workout, and that was the difference between my training times as well. So there's quite a lot of variables that go into it. I'm just going to talk on my experience. I'm not going to I don't really give any scientific reasons to why. I kind of let the sciencey people do that. You can obviously go and search whatever scientist in sports performance or whatever you want to go and search on, but I'll give my experience and what I know, and the benefits I know for intra workout and what I've gone, because you can't really beat experiencing this, especially with bodybuilding. I think it all comes down to experience. Scientific information doesn't really give the full detail, I think. In some ways, I think experience really overrides that to a point. So anyway, intra workouts, like I said, I've used them in my early years of training and my later years of training. In my early years of training, I trained more so in the evening. I was a train between meal 5 and 6 kind of guy, so pretty late at night. Now obviously, if you've been following for a while, I train fasted, first thing 6 in the morning. So in terms of that, we can talk about intra workouts in that perspective, where now I'm going to talk about if they're necessary. Obviously you can use an intra workout if you want or not, it doesn't really matter. But in terms of benefiting the session, if you're training between meals 4 and 5, meals 5 and 6, or between any meals, is an intra workout necessary? Not particularly, because you've got carbohydrates pre and post. You don't necessarily need one in your training session as well. I think this is more for beginners, and if you're starting out as well. I think spending money on an intra workout when you're just starting off training is not really necessary. I didn't. The first time I used an intra workout was probably 5 to maybe 6 years into my training. So that's really before they all became very popular, and now pretty much everyone uses an intra workout. I'm talking about intra workout as in carbohydrates as well. I'm not talking about your amino acids or electrolytes or something. I'm talking about mainly carbohydrates that we're utilizing in training. So, if you flip it into training fasted, which I do at the moment, I quite like using an intra workout because it gives me that first bit of nutrition and really just helps me get into the session, give me some more energy for the session, and helps throughout the session as well. And my training sessions are quite long. Like I trained legs yesterday for 3 hours. Obviously I'm not literally training for 3 hours, but the whole session lasts for about 2 to 3 hours. So an intra workout there for me is very important because I want the first set that I do to be the same intensity as the last set 3 hours later. So obviously some people could say you're training for too long, whatever. That's how I like to do things. I like to have my rest periods. I like to go into a set fresh and feeling ready for the set and not going in blowing and out of breath, gassed. But also in terms of energy, just sipping on an intra workout during that session helps keep energy on a level playing field. Instead of you having your pre-workout meal here, okay, going into the gym, first set, your energy's up here. Second set, it gradually starts to go down to get to your last set where you're here, where energy's pretty much gone, non-existent, and then you're pretty much gasping for that post-workout meal. Whereas the intra-workout carbs that you can use just help keep that on a level playing field, help your energy as long as you sip on it. Now I know there's a lot of studies where people time their intra-workouts. Some people have them half an hour into a session, some people have them, some people like to get all their carbohydrates from the intra-workout done in the first half an hour of the training session and then just let that carry them through. Me personally, I've always been someone who sips on that for the whole session. So I'll take my first sip obviously as soon as I walk into the gym, and the last, when I finish the I use a 1.5 litre, my last sip of the 1.5 litre will be on my last exercise. So I'm utilising it for the whole session. That's how I've done it. I never really timed my intra workout and got it in that way. Some people like to do that. I'm sure there's some scientific thing around that, but I've never really read into that or seen any massive benefit to that. I mean, there could be some sort of percentage to that, but of a benefit, but that's just how I've always done it. I've always just sipped on it during the session and kept the energy levels pretty level instead of having a spike mid-session and then it dropping down. So, do I think it's necessary for beginners? No, not really. I think you should focus on nutrition mainly, getting the whole foods in and utilising proper carbohydrates instead of powder form. I think once you start to get a bit intermediate, and obviously if you get into your bodybuilding a bit more seriously, you'll start to push food. If you're wanting to go into an off season and grow, obviously you'll be pushing food quite high. I think once you get to your pretty much peak calories that you're taking in, or peak carbohydrates, for me my peak carbohydrates is like 800 to 900 gram of carbs daily on a training day. Then we will utilise intra workouts and really try and push an intra workout, just because we're utilising quite a big chunk of carbohydrates in that intra workout. It's just like you could call it another meal. So you've got your 6 whole meals, and then you could class your intra workout drink as a meal, so it would be 7 meals. You know, obviously if you're mixing your carbohydrate intra workout with essential amino acids, protein, electrolytes, you kind of call it a meal as well. So when food is high, I think there is a benefit to using intra workouts. That I've done it anyway. It just saves. It's a very easily digestible carbohydrate as well, as long as you choose the right one. Cyclic dextrin is the one I use. Literally just the applied nutrition one. I've used that ever since. First time I used carbohydrate, I used that. I think I did actually use Redcon. Not sure what that was called. I don't actually think they do anymore, but I used a red corn version. I think that was quite good. Cluster bomb. I used cluster bomb for a bit, but this applied nutrition one does digest better. So if you are going to use that, use that. That's one I'd recommend. There are other ones you can use as well, obviously. So just do your research, try some out. But yeah, I think the main thing I'm trying to get at is when your food's high, you're pushing food, you're in the growing phase, off season, and you want to utilize as much carbohydrates as possible. And when your carbohydrates get to the highest point of your growing phase and shoveling food down full all the time, if you've done a growing phase, you know the feeling. Using the intra workout and putting quite a decent amount of carbohydrates in your intra workout is definitely going to benefit. It's definitely going to help with digestion. It's definitely going to help bring those meals throughout the rest of the day down slightly in terms of carbohydrates, and can just make your day a bit easier. And like I said, utilising that intra workout section as another meal, added on to your 6 meals a day, or however many meals you have a day. Shoulders are starting to hurt now, but we power through. It's done 11 minutes. We'll take this up to 15, I think. Quantity of a carbohydrate. Again, this is a lot down to preference. I think all these things is down to preference and whether it works for you or not. But I think everyone should try it first, see if it does. But I think when you're starting off with a carbohydrate source during training, start with 25 gram, and then you can work yourself up from that. I think going straight in with like 100, 120 grams of carbohydrates in an intra workout is going to cause some digestion issues, maybe. I think you should always kind of work up. Like, it's the same with your calories and food. You wouldn't start your off season with 5,000 calories. You start with 3 and work yourself up. Same goes with adding stuff in. Start low, increase up when you need to. You know, do a week on 25 gram, up into 30 gram. Keep going till you feel saturated in the session. You feel like the digestion's good, or just at a peak, a turning point, to where digestion might be going down a bit. Me, I've always kind of stuck at 100 grams, which will be my max. So 100 gram of carbs, which I'm on now, during training. That kind of works well. Maybe leg day, it feels a bit sickly just because the intra workout is quite sweet. If you can get unflavoured, but I kind of like to have a bit of taste in there. But 100 grams of carbohydrates is kind of my max. People say you shouldn't really go above 50 gram, but I tried and tested it. It works well for me. Again, it's very different for everyone, so try it out, give it a go. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at as well. You know, with intra workouts and stuff, try it. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it. You don't have to use what other people are using. You don't have to use anything. Just add it to your pre-workout and post-workout meal. And if you want to train on an empty stomach with just essential amino acids in, electrolytes, go for it. But I think when your food's high, it's definitely something you can utilise and make it a bit better. I think as well, for me, because I train fasted, if anyone else trains fasted, in my last prep that I did last year, we still utilised an intra workout during that. So I think it was 25 to 50 gram of intra workout during my session. That's just because I was training fasted. I was in a deficit. So just having that bump in the morning for carbohydrates during training definitely helped me get through the session when on low food and trying to push conditions. So if you are doing your prep, keep that intra workout in for the first half of your prep, and then obviously once food gets tapered down and you start getting down to low carbohydrates, obviously put that carbohydrates into your meals or take it out completely. But it's definitely something to kind of think about in terms of that when you're in prep. And definitely can, if you're training fasted, give you a bit more energy. I think as well, if you're not training fasted and you're in prep, it can help. So I think all these things that we use in bodybuilding supplement wise, they're very personal preferences. I think you've got to try them out first. If they work for you, use them. If they don't, then you don't have to use them. You don't have to use anything. But I think is an intra workout necessary for beginners? No, I would stick to your whole foods. I would stick to just implementing a good pre-workout, post-workout meal. Then I think if you're really wanting to get into bodybuilding and you're wanting to push your body weight up and do a growing phase off season, trying to utilize as much carbohydrates as possible, and you're pushing very hard food wise, then yeah, I think you should incorporate an intra workout in there as well. Like I said about doing prep, if you are doing a prep and you want to utilize 25 to 50 gram of carbs intra workout, and you know your appetite's still okay during the day, then do that. It's just going to help you get through the session. It's only going to benefit the session. It might help with a bit of pump as well because of the carbohydrates. That's something as well I do notice is the pumps are much better when I have a carbohydrate source in during the session, as well as electrolytes and stuff. So yeah, do I think they're necessary? Like I just said, not always. I think right now for myself, it is a bit of a necessity to keep that in there, and I probably will do for the foreseeable. But when you're starting out, don't stress too much about it. Focus on your food. Yeah, really focus on your food. Get that in first. And then once that's hit the ground running and you're in a good place with that, and you need to push food up, and maybe you're struggling with meals and getting that down in terms of digestion, then yeah, stick a carbohydrate source in intra workout, and that is going to obviously add up to the total carbohydrates for the day and help you through the session. So yeah, that's all I'm going to give on that. Little insight into what I think about intra workouts. I think they're a great source, a great tool in the toolbox to use, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to, and that's kind of where I'm going to go with there. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you took some information away from this. We'll be back for next week with probably a training video, potentially a nutrition one. I'll have a look, see what I want to do. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll talk to you next week.